Day 4 of my 40-day fast. I'm doing really well. If you want to know my experience, go to my IGTV at the Millennial Bodyworker and you'll find it there. Anyway, time for the reading, and this is a good topic. The Old Testament gives examples of fasting undertaken before a difficult task, to implore pardon for a fault, to mourn personal sorrow, as when King David fasted during the 7-day sickness of his infant son, to mark a national calamity, or on the eve of a battle or after a defeat. Esther's decisive intervention with the king to save her nation was preceded by 3 days of continual fasting, observed not only by the queen but also at her orders by all the Jews in the capital. Do this fast accompanied her widowhood, lasting 3 years and 4 months. All the vicissitude, I don't know if I pronounced that right, of life call for prayer, reinforced by fasting. Fasting humbles the soul, offering proofs of the stress and devotion to touch the heart of God. It is a form of prayer which hopes for everything from God. For the prophets, fasting is an expression of a complete and radical turning of man towards God and his commitment, especially love of neighbor. Okay, so I'm going to get down and dirty in this post because it's about that time. It's not just easy for the Muslims during Ramadan in Malaysia, during Puasa, which is what fasting is called in my country. It is also not easy for the non-Muslims, especially the non-Muslims who look Malay, because then we automatically get judged. Now here's the thing, I'm from Sarawak. We don't have an issue when it comes to Ramadan. We all pretty much look, well, very different, and you can never tell who's Muslim and who's not. And no one cared. No one in Sabah and Sarawak cared and made any judgment calls during fasting. Yes, when I was a child, when I was a teenager, a lot of my friends would say, oh, you don't understand how it feels like to fast because you're not Muslim. Well, okay, well, if it's going to be that hard, you know what? Let me try it. Let me try and be with you. And I did in multiple occasions. And then no one said anything after that. But it is a lot worse in West Malaysia. 20 years being there. There were multiple times in the first few years, and I would say the first 10 years of me in Kuala Lumpur especially, where I was either insulted or harassed by not only normal people but even authority on not fasting. It came to the point where I had to ask my mom, and I know my mom is watching, I had to ask her for a cross because I was getting sick and tired by people telling me to fast, or why am I not fasting? I had people like even the bus driver say like, okay, tak puasa ke? You know, and that is a thing that you're going to get. And I kind of thought it would go away. And it's gone away for me because I live in my own little bubble and I wear whatever I want, and I'm filled with tattoos. So immediately people just leave me alone. They look at me and they're like, wait a minute, she kind of looks like us. And then they leave me alone because they can't really tell where I'm from. But it can get bad. And there was once that I was coming down from the PWTC LRT. See, I even remember the LRT station. And I happened to be eating an apple, which I do every day. Just so happens it was Ramadan, it was Puasa. But then suddenly I have a hand reach up and grab me. And I turned to look and it was a policeman. Tak puasa ke? You know, and I was just like, what? And then he threatened to take me to the police station. And I'm just kind of looking at him like, I beg your pardon? And so I had to pull up my IC and show him. And then once he read it, he let go. And this is something that also happens. They don't say sorry. Authorities do not say sorry. They just let go and pretend like that it didn't happen. Another situation, and I thought this was really, really sad, and I will mention it. I was walking in an old mall, and I can't remember which one. It was like maybe Ampang Park mall before it was demolished. And again, I was eating a fruit. And there was a man in front with his child, his 4-year-old child. He turned to look at me, and he sees me eating, turns around, says very loudly to his child, "Bagi lalu adik untuk orang yang tak puasa ni." And I'm just like, what? Okay, so maybe I should say in English. He said, child, my child, can you give way to the person who's not fasting? And I was just like, I turned to look at him. He didn't want to look me in the eye. He did like a look and then look away. And I'm just like, whatever. And then I just walk. Last year, I noticed that one of my favorite radio stations happens to be a Malay radio station. And I know I don't speak Malay a lot, very, very often. I live in my English. And but one of my favorite stations is a Malay station, which I think is very hip happening. And then during Ramadan, I remember that suddenly the ads were like, "Okay, everyone, it's Puasa. Happy Ramadan to everyone who's fasting. And for all you non-Muslims, please be considerate." I just deleted that channel. Because going back to the book, when it comes to fasting, it is between you and God. You really should not be judging anybody else when you are fasting. You should especially have love for your neighbor, for your people. Yes, you are fasting, and we realize that you are fasting. But there are times when we, as non-Muslims, are also fasting. But I don't see anyone of us telling you to, hey, be considerate because I'm fasting. No, it's really hard for us. It really is hard for us. And not a lot of us, we talk about it and we can comment and complaining about it on Facebook, I've noticed. But I don't think that we talk about it enough, that it is very difficult, and we feel we don't understand why we're being insulted and harassed. We're just kind of going on with our day, and we are really trying to be as considerate as possible. And sometimes, we forget. But so are you trying to tell us that we are not allowed to eat just because you're not eating? This again is between you and God. So anyway, fasting humbles the soul, offering proofs of distress and devotion to touch everything from God. Fasting is the expression of a complete and radical turning of man towards God and their commitment. I also want to say, though, I know that I'm just preaching to the choir here when it comes to Puasa in Malaysia, and I know that this is because I'm speaking English. I'm not going to be able to reach those people who actually need to hear it, but I have a feeling that even if I were to say it, they're not going to listen. So I want to reach out to the new generation, my generation. I want the new generation to be a lot more kind. Be kind. We can be kind when you are fasting. Be kind to us, Be kind. I think it's so important to understand that we're all in the same boat, and we are, especially in Malaysia, because we are a multiracial community, and there are so many races, not just the Malays or Chinese or Indians. There are the rest of us who hang out under the lain-lain, who get dismissed and neglected and then harassed. It's not cool. It's just not cool. And for the new generation, from my age and below, the millennials, the real millennials, the Gen X, the Gen Y, the Gen Z, please understand that it's not cool. And I hope that you teach your children, your future children, that when it comes to puasa, when it comes to fasting, It is yours. Don't get angry at the rest of us and think like, oh, you don't understand the misery that we're in. You have a choice as well. You don't have to fast. You can just stay home and just go out at night and no one will know the better. But your guilt trip that you're getting from other people, from your culture and your society, shouldn't be brought forth to us, because we're kind of like going, what happened? And I really feel like this is a message that is going to take long, because I feel like this needs to be said, and I can say it again if need be, that we can be considerate as long as you are kind. So the old generation is going to die off. And you know what? Maybe I might be a little bit happy that they do. Some of them will be enlightened and awakened before then, and they will teach us their wisdom, which is great. But the rest of them, well, I would like to hope that their narrow-minded, closed-minded beliefs will die with them. We, as the youth of the country, as of the nation, and of the world, we need to rise up and understand that we're all in it together. It doesn't matter our race, it doesn't matter our religion, it doesn't matter where we're from, that we are all in it together. We cannot take the stuff that is from the past and go, well, it was like this during 1956. Screw that shit. No, we are now, and what we've brought in that, and we are coming in now. We're coming in as a generation of now. We need to love our neighbor, be considerate, be kind. All right, that's my spiel. Enjoy your fast. See you tomorrow.